everyone. Welcome to SportsKhabri. With me is Adi, no Rishi today. So it's just going to be us carrying this podcast. And yeah, dude. So India got a few bilateral series lined up for 2024. We play Sri Lanka. We're playing Sri Lanka now. We've got Bangladesh, and then you've got New Zealand coming to India. But I think the biggest series undoubtedly this year is when India go to Australia for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And yeah, dude, there's a lot of expectations around this Indian side after what they've done in the previous toss to Australia. 2018, they won, but we know that was infamously without Warner and Smith. Then they won the Test series in 2022. It's not 2022, 2021 in dramatic fashion. So again, incredible performance. And if India can make it 3 out of 3 in Australia, dude, I don't think there's been a lower point for Australia against India in Test cricket ever. So yeah, dude, like Adi, what do you make? Do you think this is going to be incredible if India go and do it 3 times in a row in Australia?
I mean, I don't think any other team has done that, right? Three continuous test
I
series
have
against
no
Australia.
idea.
I don't think that's ever been happened before, anyways. I mean, anyways, talking historically, going to other like the top four teams, at least going away to play there and winning a test series is very tough. I don't, the same thing. Australia hasn't done that for years. England hasn't done that for another like past 10 years, if I'm not wrong. So it's always tough for the away teams to go, and try to win a test series in the home country. And India has been able to do that 2 times continuously in Australia, right? When we talk about 2018, sure, like we can always say that, Australia had their weak team, whatever excuses, but at the end of the day, it was their issue where they had to, field out their weak team while India were playing, their own strong team. And then you come to 2021, I think India's team was the most random test team you'll ever find in your life,
At least for
ever.
one game, at least for 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, especially the last two games,
For
like
sure.
it was so random. At that point in time, even though we had players like Mayank Agarwal opening, suddenly coming one down, suddenly coming two down, and stuff like that. So it was incredible, that victory and the circumstance of what we won in 2021. I think easily one of the best test series ever to be played. At least for me personally, that's the best test series
Yeah.
I've ever watched in my life. And coming from that to now, it's going to be a way different test series because firstly, the last time we played Australia in a test match, we did lose, to be honest, in the test championship final, which we
Yeah.
all like to forget. But it's going to be not difficult. It's going to be different at least because both teams have a lot of changes. At least India in terms of captaincy and in terms of the coach, two whole different roles. Rohit Sharma coming captaining his first series in Australia as a captain is going to be interesting. And also having Ganguly. I mean, sorry, not Ganguly. Gambhir as the head coach. We'll see how he translates this T20 dominance into ODS and especially Test match, because Test match is going to be a different whole different game, right? And looking
Yep.
at Australia, they've lost a huge figure in their opener, David Warner. I think losing him as an opener itself, it's like you're losing like your end. It's like India losing Virat. It's the same. It's literally the same thing for
Mm.
Australia. I mean, they played West Indies, they played, which they drew, to be fair. They actually couldn't beat West Indies in their home series, right? And then they also played New Zealand where, at least they had a comfortable win. It's going to be very interesting, the matchups, bro. I think these matchups of, their bowlers versus our batsmen, it'll be interesting how we change a lot from a previous test match, because when we played England, we had a lot of youngsters in that test series, the likes of Drew Jurel, etc., playing that test series. And Dravid was the coach at that point of time, right? Guy who's
Yeah.
specialist in test matches. And I think coming from there to Gambhir, uh, red ball cricket, I want to see what happens. Like, does he keep the same core, at least for the time being? Does Rohit Sharma get more of the same when it comes to players? Because remember, we've not even seen Gambhir and Rohit Sharma dynamic as a team, like, as a coach and captain. Because, for example, in the next 4 months, what if Gambhir has some point of view, like he wants to bring in some players while Rohit Sharma wants to keep the same old team he's played? So we'll have to see how India, firstly builds their squad, who they pick, And also, in terms of the players that's going to play, like we still don't know who will end up playing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's very, very interesting because again, squads are changed. You've got Australia who've sort of reshuffled their batting lineup. They've after losing Warner, they've chosen to open with Steve Smith, and yeah, he's got a couple of good performances. Smith at the top of the order, so fair play to him. He opens the batting with Usman Khawaja, and the rest of the side looks pretty much all right, except for the inclusion of Mitch Marsh at number six. It's pretty much a standard Australian side. You've got Labuschagne, Green, and Head in the middle order, and then you've got the keeper Alex Carey, and then the four bowlers we know who will play in Mitch Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, and Nathan Lyon. And the only other sort of inclusion that you might expect from an Aussie perspective is somebody like a Scott Boland who could come in and do a job. But yeah, I think the major questions around the squad and how it's going to look comes from the Indian side of things because of the coach change. Because of there was a big test series against England in India, right? And there was a bold decision to leave out people like Ajinkya Rahane, people like Cheteshwar Pujara, who have been a part of the team for so long. So we don't know what are the futures of these players. Rahane, of course, we know hasn't done well in domestic cricket, but I think Pujara has. So there's probably a shout for him to come back, especially after he did so well in Australia last time out and in 2018. Maybe I don't know if they're going to look back at him. Virat Kohli returns, which I mean he didn't play in the England series, so you're expecting Shubman Gill to open the batting maybe with Rohit Sharma again. Gill who played an important role in the final test at Australia at Gabba in 2021. So maybe Gill, Rohit, and Virat. I don't know if Virat Kohli would want to take that number three slot, or would he
But
happy
I
Gill have
think,
it?
yeah, I think Gill will play number three anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because
Then you're looking at
no,
Yashasvi
that's the
Jaiswal
thing. Like
opening
this,
the
when it
bat.
comes to batting with India, there how does Gambhir take it forward? Do they, bro? At least when you talk about the BCCI, the selection committee, and the coach themselves, and captain Rohit Sharma, they've all been very consistently been saying you have to perform domestically to be chosen. For the Test red ball cricket, right? They've ensured all these players, apart from maybe Kohli, Bumrah, and Rohit, play. The county cricket, your Ranji trophies, etc. They made sure it's mandatory for them to play. And if you're going into it, and imagine, you know, I think Ranji Trophy starts right in another 2-3 months. Before there's like a 1 month period before India selects the squad for Australia, right? So imagine in the Ranji Trophy, you end up sending all these guys to play. The lads play the Ranji Trophy, and you have players like Gill underperforming in Ranji, like barely scoring runs. I mean, it's a stretch to tell, but if for example, hypothetically the scenario happens, will the coach end up still picking up players like Gill or Jaiswal if they're not performing well in your Ranji trophies because they still don't have enough Test experience? I mean, maybe Gill does for sure. He debuted in 2021 in that Test series against Australia. He's been very consistent in the Test team for India. But for example, the likes of Jaiswal, who they pushed him into the Test squad. I mean, all three formats to be fair. He plays T20, ODI, and even even the Test team now since he played the England series. Imagine if he's not playing well. Do India still have a shout to say, okay, we don't care about it. We're still going to take Jaiswal for these Test series, or do they need to stick to the principles of if you perform well in Ranji Trophy, if you perform consistently in Ranji trophies, you get a chance to play. You know, in the Test squad, because if we're talking about only Ranji team, we know a lot of other players who have been performing well in the Ranji, the Ranji trophy tournament, right? Like that's a huge question for me. And if you're talking about openers, I mean, that's the thing. Like you see Pujara, he's not only playing in India, he's playing you know Test cricket in England, the county cricket. You see other players like Venkatesh Iyer doing the same thing. They're also going and playing in England, etc. So I'm not saying Venkatesh Iyer has a chance to come in, but my point is like these players are actually putting in that effort to go,
Yeah.
revive their Test career or give them a chance. Especially Pujara, I think for me personally, him getting dropped against England was still a huge blow. Especially with even Kohli not playing that Test series, I still think he should have been there.
Yeah.
You could have helped him, his experience, etc. There, even though it was not needed at the end of the day. But going into the Australia series is going to be a tough series, bro. And I feel like taking in players like Jaiswal into the series, it's going to be a huge test for them. Because, I mean, see, previously, we can always say, previously in the last test series when India had a lot of debutants, a lot of youngsters playing like the Gills, etc. They still performed and they showed up, during that series. And I think that was a lot because of the story behind. I mean, that whole pressure and the way people were talking about India at that point of time. That I don't think they're the favorites, and obviously putting into the accountancy of Rahane captaining that side helped them win that series. But the series, I'm sure India is going to come in as the favorites. They'll have to beat Australia. That's the that's at least how they're going to be talked about. So I want to see like what Gambhir actually puts up. Like, does he stay consistent with his principles and values of okay, you perform well in the Ranji Trophy, you get picked, or does he go back? Does he have his own favorites? Does he play these certain players? Who he
Yeah,
thinks are there, and or does he also pull back? Your experienced players like Pujara, who is very valuable for India, and him not going to a test series, bro. The last two test series India won in Australia. Major credit goes to Pujara. Like you can't
100%,
tell
100%.
it anything, you can't twist it anyway. Major credit goes to him. And see, I agree. Like India wants to move away from these aging players. They want to push their youth, etc. But bro, at the end of the day, youth players have to earn it to be there, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying these kids have not earned it, but I've still not seen enough of them to say, okay, this guy can come ahead of Pujara. For me personally, like I still think I would have the likes of Pujara playing a test series over the likes of Jaiswal. Even though he's been playing pretty well for India, he's been pretty good. At the highest level, he's not there yet, and he's not proven there yet consistently. And especially in Test match, I still don't think he has the overall like that capacity, at least from my point of view, to play Test matches. And I still think I feel like Gill has to play this Test match because purely from the fact that I think Australia is a place that suits him well. He's a tall lad. He can play short balls well. He can play the pace well. I think him playing in Australia is very important because of his timing. I think that suits him very well. And same with Kohli. I think to an extent, even with Rohit. But the only other player I would
yeah.
want to have there is someone like Pujara, at least from me personally.
100%, bro. I agree. I think my gut also says Pujara will make his comeback probably for the New Zealand series, and
But
then he will
but
play the Australia series.
yeah, but do you think he can come back? Because at the end of the day, even the selection committee has a huge say, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
with Rohit Sharma selection committee, and I don't know how Gumpy is going to look at it, but they've all been pushing, in terms of young players, like the way they've been
mm,
pushing Jaiswal into the team. It's almost like they force him into the team than like him naturally coming into the team through his performances, right?
yeah. I
And
agree, but
yeah, it's just for me, it's very difficult to see can Pujara come back. Like for me, at least, watching Test cricket and I still think he's really required in this team. I mean, no
yeah,
matter
I
what.
think so too. I think so too, and
But
I think he will come back because simply based on the fact that he's got the runs to back him. It's not that he's not done well domestically. He's done well domestically. On top of that, I think India needs a number three. They don't have a test number three still. Of course, Virat bats at four, and then you've got Gill and Rowe to open the batting in Australia. That sounds like a great top four. You're expecting Rishabh Pant to make a comeback. Again, this is not me saying Rishabh Pant will make a comeback based off of some incredible domestic performances. It's just me saying it based on the fact that he was picked for the T20 World Cup
but
without him having much,
yeah.
having
But
played
but, but
much
when you
for
talk
his
about
nation.
Pant, can he play 5 days? Do we know he can even play five
I
days
don't know if he can play
continuously?
5 days, but yeah, again, that's a,
Yeah.
that's a question left to answer. But I think he'll be there, bro. I think
Plus,
Pant will
plus,
make it
you
at
also
number
have
five.
KL Rahul coming back, right? I mean, he's a guy who's kept for India also, and he
Yeah,
showed that he can
still
keep
don't think
test.
he can. I still don't think he can keep in red ball cricket, especially in
No,
Australia, a
but,
place he's
but
never kept.
yeah, but
Like
I feel like Australia is one place where he can keep than places like England, right? Because
I mean, I guess so, but still, like, I still don't see him keeping for India and red ball cricket in Australia. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question again to see who India's number five will be. I think that's a big like question mark that's there. Number six, you're expecting Pant to come in if whoever the keeper is. You and then after that, it's all settled, right? It's you Jadeja, Ashwin, then you got your three fast seamers, or you drop one of the spinners and play an extra fast bowler. So that is sorted. You know what you're going to get, but that number five slot. is so interesting because I don't know who India are going to go for. Are they going to go for
Shreyas Iyer,
somebody like a
Shreyas Iyer.
Sarfraz Khan? Shreyas Iyer doesn't make it, bro.
Yeah,
No chance.
Sarfaraz Khan, I don't think he's gonna get a chance on the Gambhir for sure, at least for now. I think Gambhir is a guy who is always gonna go for, a certain type of players who are in form, who are in, playing a lot of cricket, international cricket, etc. I think when it comes to batting, I think he'll end up backing players like Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul only for the only for the simple reason that they played a lot of test matches and he's worked with them a lot. I think with Shreyas Iyer it'll be tough for him to drop him from test side and even KL Rahul because these two guys are someone he's worked with a lot in the IPL and he also knows that bro these guys have good capacity to play at least KL Rahul to be fair I
Yeah.
think his best format is the test cricket bro and I think him in Australia it's some another guy who suits those conditions suits him well I think he can play
Yeah, I
there
think
well
he scored his test 100, like first
in
test 100 on debut, which is good.
yeah exactly it was in Australia and I think that's the thing like I feel like to be fair, if we don't pick Puchara, I would rather push KL Rahul to be, our number three over the likes of, Jaiswal, like Jaiswal Rohit opening, Gill number three, and then Virat number four. I would rather have KL Rahul in the number three spot, right? But
Mm.
if that the plan is to play your Jaiswal Rohit Sharma opening, then you have Gill number three, Rohit number four. Then I think KL Rahul should come in and slot in the number five position, which I rather have him number three or five. To be honest, me personally, I think it will suit him well. It'll give him time to play his own game in his own pace when if he's playing number three, right? I think within the current players we have KL can be the guy who does the job of Pujara to the closest of anyone here, right? Uh, I think he's technically very solid in test matches. And bro, whenever like he's spoken about test matches, whenever he's spoken about his beginning, his career days, it was always very much limited to test matches. We can see that he's grown up from playing test matches, KL Rahul. I would personally push KL to play test matches over any other player right now,
Yeah.
in these guys. And if see that's the thing, if you don't have a number five, you end up playing number five. If you don't have a number three, and if the plan is to play someone, I would rather play KL Rahul in the number five, number three spot also.
I mean, at least for I think they both should make the squad, Pujara and Rahul. And Rahul made his debut in Australia in 2014, but he didn't play well
No,
in his
but
final.
when you think
But
about it, you look at
yeah,
the other teams, bro. You look at right now, like teams like England, teams like Australia. Their number five is someone who is a bit more aggressive because you look at players like Travis Head coming number four, number five
yeah,
for
yeah.
Australia, and then you see with England, it's like a bit of Joe Root. I mean, a bit of Harry Brooks before it was Bairstow, etc. Like these guys are a bit more aggressive, and that point of time,
Yeah, yeah.
I would rather have someone coming and play more runs than KL Rahul because he'll again come in there and take his own time,
I,
put pressure on. You'll end up putting a lot of pressure on KL Rahul to start scoring runs more,
I
right?
don't think that's an issue, dude. Like I don't know. Anyways, the pitches deteriorate like very quickly in Australia, day four, day five. So if KL does take his time, I don't think it's an issue anyways, because I think India have got the spinners to do it on the final couple of days. So for me, I don't think it's a problem to have a slowish number five because you've got punts to follow after that who will score runs. You've got Kohli on top of him at number four
Bro,
who will
thing
also
with
score
Punt,
runs.
I don't know if he can survive test match at the moment, bro. Like him
I mean,
physically, bro, you watching him play T20 World Cup, I was like, I could see that the World Cup itself was draining him physically, like IPL
mm,
World Cup, like, him playing there within like 20, 30 balls he was playing, he was running, you could see he was physically drained. He used to look very tired. And, in the last finals also, he was a bit injured. He looked a bit tired. And, remember that we got a long break etc. Because of I don't know if it was because of cramps or it was purpose he just laid on whatever it is. But you can see him physically, bro. I don't know if Punt can physically last for 5 days in a test
yeah, I
match.
mean, we'll have to see.
I
But
seriously, at the moment, I can't back him. He's not played enough cricket, T20 cricket itself,
true,
to
true,
be
true.
like, okay, you
I
come play a
agree.
test match.
I agree.
And I feel like that itself, like, it's kind of big for him to play a test series, in Australia. We'll have to see if he's picked in the Bangladesh test series, if he's going to play that test series, if he
Mm,
plays, ends up
yeah.
playing. I think a lot can change, if, for example, the lads go to, the Bangladesh, and some players play well, some players don't. I think that series can help us to give a better idea of,
I
what's
think
the
the
right
New
thing to
Zealand
do.
series will give us a lot of answers, especially
Yeah,
because
correct.
you expect India to go. I think even Bangladesh, we will go extremely strong because we need to win the games. So,
Exactly.
yeah, probably both those series is going to be a good indicator of how things will go. But yeah, I mean, with this uncertainty, we don't know what it's going to be like. But I think I'm still hopeful, dude. Like India and Australia, with still the top four that I think India will go for. It just looks strong to me and it looks really good. So yeah, I'm confident about India's chances. But guys, yeah, let us know what you think about India's chances when we go to Australia later this year. Can we make it 3-3 in Australia, which will be incredible? Yeah, I mean that's something that will really announce India as a powerhouse over Australia in the modern era. So yeah, do like and share the video, subscribe to Sports Khabri. See you soon. Bye bye.